Hello everyone again. Let us now see how we can improve the part of type as well. We have already tried to see how to ensure or how to prevent bad input on the part of age. Let us see how to prevent the bad input on the part of type as well. Okay, so you can use the same approach similar to the one we used on age. Are we together, guys? You can use the same approach. But before you even do that, I would like to let you know that if your program is very similar to mine, because I know there are so many ways of writing this program, okay? So if your program is very similar to mine, if your program is exactly like this one here, then you don't even need to try to prevent bad input on this part. There is no need to do that, because the way it is here right now, there is no way that will be an issue. Okay, if you want I can show you. Okay, let me show you. You see, the user will enter the age, maybe an age above 12. Okay, maybe will enter 20. You see, then on the part of movie type, let's say he enters a bad input, which is, let's say, B. You see at this particular moment, because of the way our program is, you get my point. That's why I'm telling you, it depends on how you wrote your program. Okay, but for my particular case here, the way I wrote it, I don't even need to validate the issue of input on the part of the movie type. You get my point? So for example here, movie type, I am entering B. When I press enter, you see, it works perfect. It just tells me you entered a wrong movie type. You get my point? Yeah. So I don't even need to try to validate on the part of movie type, because the way it is now, it is working perfect. Okay. So if you are asking yourself why is it so? Well, it is because the way it is here. Okay. If I tell the user to enter the movie type, when the user enters something which is not an integer, do you know what will happen? Do you remember what I told you before? Whenever this cin object tries to take that value and it discovers that it cannot be an integer, what will happen? It will fail on the spot. The cin object will fail immediately. And when the cin object fails, it means this variable here will remain with a value of 0. Do you get my point? So this type here will just have a value of what? Of 0. So it means when we come to the decision structures down here, it will say age is above 12 and type is equal to 1. You see? But our type is what? It's still 0, because cin failed. Because it found an input which cannot be an integer, so it failed. So type still has a value of what? Of 0. So when it comes here, it sees that here it says type is equal to 1 and there is end. You get my point? Age 12 or above and type is equal to 1. So it cannot come inside here. Okay? So it will come to the else if part. If it comes to the else if part, it will see age is 12 or above and type is equal to 2. Again, it cannot go inside because the type is what? Is 0. So it cannot go inside. So in the end, it will come here. It will say you entered a wrong movie type. Okay? Yeah. So for this particular scenario here, if your program is just like this, there is no even a need to validate the type, because the program is itself already doing okay. You get my point? Yeah, the program is just okay, so I don't even need to do that. But what if you want to do that? No problem, you may do that. You can just use the same approach as this one here. You can just use the same approach as this one here. Okay? Yeah, so you can come here. So in this particular case, you can also use a while loop. Do you remember I told you can also use a while loop if you want? So if you want to use a while loop, it means again, you can create an infinite while loop, a while loop which never stops. Okay, So how do you do that? You just write while, and then you just write inside here, inside the condition part, you just write you just write true. Okay, you just write true, and then inside here you take this one here. Okay, you take this one here, you put inside here. Okay, you put inside here. You see? Yeah. Now, since, do you see this type? You are using it below the body of the while loop. You are using it here, and you are using it here also. You see? So let us move it outside. Okay, let us move it outside. Let us just move it outside. Okay, let us move it outside. Let us put it here. Okay, and then so enter movie type. So what you're going to do, you can declare a string. Okay, here, do you remember the approach? The approach says you have to take the value as if it is a string. So declare a string, call it maybe something like this. Okay, that is your string variable. You see? So first of all, you store whatever value the user entered into string variable. Okay, yeah. So by so doing, it means cin will never fail. It will never fail. You get my point? So even if the user enters something which is not an integer or whatever, cin will never fail, because you're trying to store in what? Into string. So there is no way it will fail. You get my point? Okay, because if the user enters some words or some characters like B, okay, like J, like H, since this data type is string, it will just wake. Even if the user has entered words, as long as this data type is string, it will just wake. Cin will not fail in that particular case. You get my point? So when you come to try to convert now, is when that function could fail. You get my point? So since type we declared it as integer, so we're going to use a function to convert it to what? To integer. So you're going to say story, okay? And then you're converting what? Movie type from string to int, okay? Yeah. So you have to try that function. Will it fail or not? So you say try. You say try, okay? You say try, okay? Yeah. So if this function succeeds, it will return a value which is already converted into int. Okay, so you can store that value inside your what? Inside your variable. You get my point? Yeah. And whenever this function succeeds, you want to stop the loop immediately. You want to terminate the loop immediately. So you're going to say break. You get my point? You're going to say break. However, if this function does not succeed, it will throw a runtime error. So you can catch that runtime error. Okay, let me copy. Okay, so you can catch, okay, you can catch that runtime error, and then you can display a message. Okay, and then instead of terminating the program, you're actually using a loop to prompt the user again and again and again until he will finally get it right. Okay, yeah. So you can do that. Okay, so if you test this, so enter your age 20. Okay, enter movie type. So if he enters a wrong value, cin will not fail. Okay, however, you are using story, so story will fail. It will throw an exception. If it throws an exception, you are going to display that message. You see, once you display that message, since you are inside a loop, the loop will continue and continue and continue until when the user enters a correct movie type. You get my point? Yeah. So enter movie type. You see, you enter the wrong one, which is what? B. So if I press enter, you see it tells me you entered an invalid input. You see, and then it prompts me again, enter movie type. You see, if I enter C, you see, you enter an invalid type. Enter movie, it tells me again to enter the movie type. So if I enter the correct one, let's say 2, okay, you see it now says 15 shillings. You see, yeah, which is correct because I am above 12 and I am choosing 3B, so the answer should be 15. Okay, yeah. Now I want to show you something here. Can you see that you are actually repeating this same code? It is the exact code which you wrote somewhere above here. What is changing is just the name of the variable, but the logic, okay, the logic of what you are trying to do is just the same. Have you noticed that? I don't know if you have noticed that. The logic is just the same. Very the same. Okay, very the same, very similar. Are we together, guys? So in programming, we are saying do not repeat yourself. There is a principle in programming which says do not repeat yourself. In other words, don't rewrite what you already wrote before. Are we together? So what can you do to prevent repeating yourself? Very simple. Create a function. Create a function, and then whenever you want to reuse the code that is in that function, just call that function instead of rewriting that code manually by yourself. Just call that function. Are we together? So here is what to do. Since this code is the one that is repeating, okay? Can you see? It is very similar to this one here. Can you see? Very similar. Only the names of the variable are changing. So why not just cut this code and put it inside a function, okay? And make that function return the appropriate value. So let us try to create a function to do that. So head over to the next video and see how we do that.